What's happening, guys? What's going on? And thank you for tuning into Rules for Rebels. Some of you guys may have already seen this video. I did post it on the community tab of my YouTube channel the other day. I just thought it was interesting. But I decided to kind of dig into this topic a little bit further and figured I'd kind of make a video. So just to give you kind of a little bit of setup to what this video is about, and we're going to watch about 2 or 3 minutes of it, and then we'll kind of discuss it a little bit. But this guy, his name is Chase. And he made a video talking about Coast Fire. Now, if you guys remember, a couple weeks back, I made a video about Barista FIRE, talking about what is Barista FIRE. Now, if you haven't seen that video, I will link down below in the description box to where you can check out the video. But basically, kind of the idea behind Barista FIRE is if you're able to live frugally to try to continue upping your income, which in turn is going to allow you to increase your savings rate, and you can start throwing a lot of money into investments and things that are going to make you money. Potentially, if at a relatively young age, or I guess it doesn't really matter what age, but ideally for a lot of people, if you can do this at a relatively young age, because you're still young, your money has so long to compound. What $200,000 today in 30 years is going to be, I don't know what the figure is off my head, 1.2 million, whatever else it's going to be. Because you have so much money because you have so much time for your money to compound over the years, a lot of people can kind of scale back, and if they have, a soul-sucking job that they hate, or if they just hate working 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week, they may not be able to fully retire, but they can coast fire or barista fire. To me, these terms are kind of used interchangeably, although a lot of people kind of on some like Mr. Money Mustache and other financial boards kind of really debate what the difference between these are. I think the biggest issue in this is health insurance and what you're going to do about health insurance. I was recently looking into was it the bronze package or whatever it is? It's like $500 a month. It doesn't cover anything through the Affordable Care Act or whatever that is. So health insurance is going to be the one big issue here. But anyhow, I just kind of wanted to present, I guess for lack of a better word, kind of an alternative lifestyle. I think it's cool on YouTube how we're able to see different people's channels and different people's lives. And there's some people who are going and living in like Southeast Asia and doing the digital nomad thing or the location independent thing. And you can kind of get a glimpse into their life and what that's like. And, then you have other people who work a 9 to 5 and do the more traditional thing. And you have some people who live in vans and travel and do graphic design or create content or whatever else. And I don't think there's really a wrong or right way to live your life, but I think it's cool to be able to see some of these different avenues and kind of decide what's kind of right for you. So the idea behind this whole Coast Fire thing is essentially for people who I would say you value your leisure time, your family, your friends, and experiences over things. If you want to have a big house and a fancy car or whatever else, you're probably going to have to keep working and have a high-paying job and all that type of stuff. But if you're somebody who you want to live a comfortable life, but you kind of value, I guess kind of your personal development and learning new skills and doing hobbies and being involved in maybe things that make money, but maybe don't make as much money as necessarily a full-time job would. If you are able to kind of buckle down, save some money, increase your savings rate, up your income for a couple years, put away a good amount of money, if you put that money into smart investments, potentially you can kind of scale back, and maybe instead of working, a 50-hour-a-week job, maybe you can scale back to part-time, or maybe you can get maybe it's even a full-time job, but maybe it's something that you'd actually enjoy. Rather than doing accounting or sales or being an account manager, maybe you're working at a whitewater rafting place and you're taking people down the river every day, and to you that's just enjoyable and that's not work. So I don't think there's any necessarily fixed coast or fire lifestyle. Kind of do what works for you. But in this video, Chase kind of shares kind of what his life has been like, and I'll play the first couple of minutes for you guys. But one thing I thought was really interesting is he said, I always thought that I hated working, and from the day that I started working, my goal was to put as much money away as I could so that I could retire and never have to work again. And now that he has kind of semi-retired, he said one thing that he's found, he's kind of doing odd jobs. He's delivering for Subway. I think he's doing some teaching stuff. Just kind of random little freelance jobs and things like that. He said, now that I'm working, and A, I don't have to work, and B, I'm working 15, 20, 25 hours a week instead of 50 hours a week. He said, I really don't mind it. He said, at one point I thought early retirement was my goal, and he says, I kind of enjoy having some structure and getting out of the house and working jobs when it's not, taking up all of my time. And he says he's had time to get into cooking more and take up some hobbies. I think he's taken up hydroponic gardening. So really just kind of the idea with this video is just to kind of present some different kind of lifestyle choices to you. I haven't talked about this a ton in videos yet. I'm going to make a video talking more about it specifically, but I met up with Brian Phobos the other day. So check him out on YouTube, youtube.com/Brian Phobos. He's also on Steam at Brian Phobos. Really interesting dude. He's a content creator, I would say, first and foremost. From what I gathered, that was kind of his passion. He would love to make his living off creating content, and to a large extent, I think he has. He's also heavily into crypto, and I think he's got a little bit of a background in like networking, programming, web design, some stuff like that. And I've been following him on Steemit for a long time. We've been buddies on there. He does some entrepreneurship stuff too, and that's something I wanted to touch on in another video. I wanted to talk to him and see if maybe I could get him on to talk about it. Like his main thing, I think, is kind of crypto and content creation. But it was really fascinating talking to him. I knew that he's always been into e-commerce. And he's had a couple drop shipping hustles that he told me about, and I don't want to give away people's personal business and things like that. So if he wants to come on and talk more about it, I'll try to get him on. But like he had some of these drop shipping hustles where he was making like 100% ROI on some of the stuff he was drop shipping. He was using American suppliers who were shipping out quickly. He had taken like tax loans into account. Like really, really bright guy. Really investigated this, and it's one of those amazing things. Me and him were chatting, and it's like, it's really amazing how much money there is in a lot of these like super really weird, what you would think would be small, obscure niches. And there was a lot of money in what he was doing. Some of the stuff that I've done, you would never think to do it, but there's a lot of money in it. So I'd love to get Brian on to talk more about that. But we hung out at the beach the other day. If you guys checked my community tab, again, you may have seen I posted a picture of us at the beach. I wanted to create a bunch of content with him, and we sat around the beach talking all afternoon. Went for a swim a couple times, and then next thing you knew, the sun was setting. We really didn't get a chance to create that much content. He posted a YouTube interview or an interview on Steemit. I look like a total weirdo. I still haven't gotten the hang of these in-person interviews. I did another one actually right here on this couch with a buddy of mine a while back, and like I don't know whether to look at the camera or whether to look at the person I'm interviewing. So it was funny. Me and my girlfriend were watching it that night when I got home after he posted it, and it was like super cringeworthy. I was like looked in like a deer in headlights. Like whenever you see in a TV show or movie, someone who's like camera shy and gets in front of a camera and is just like that was totally me there. But yeah, he posted an interview up. I have one that I still need to post. But one of the things that I got the most out of him was I was kind of asking him. Me and him are both. I've talked about this, kind of going through some life changes right now. I sold my company. I'm kind of moving on to right now, just kind of doing hustles and things and trying to figure out my next move. He recently sold his house in Arizona. Moved back up here to Indiana, and he's been doing his own thing, creating content, freelancing, doing hustles, e-commerce and stuff for the past couple of years. And I was kind of asking, because even though I ran my own business, I mean, I've been self-employed since 2015. I've been running the business since 2011. But I mean, even though I'm self-employed, the nature of my business kind of tied me down to an office. I had a partner, so I mean, we were in the office Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. More recently, we started doing 9 to 4, and then we started taking a weekday off. So it became a little bit more flexible. But I mean, for the most part, when I was running my business, I was working more and taking less time off and taking less vacations than I was when I was working for my previous employer. I don't like working for other people, but there's something to be said for when you leave, it's over. When I go on vacation, I'm still worried about my business. I'm still having checking with my partner. When you work for somebody else, I know some people are tied down to a I guess BlackBerry's not around anymore, but I know some people are tied down to a phone. But for a lot of people's jobs, like when you leave the office, you're done and you don't really have to worry about anything else. And when you go on vacation, you're gone and you really don't have to deal with anything else until you come back. And I've always kind of been tied down by the e-commerce business. In some ways, even more so working for myself than working for other people. So I was really kind of curious to hear from Brian, like, somebody who kind of has the freedom to schedule their own days and work on the things that they want to work on and work on their passions and things like that. I was just kind of picking his brain, asking him all types of things, like how do you stay motivated? How do you stay focused? How do you decide what to do? Like, does it play in the back of your head like that other people are all doing this kind of more traditional thing and you're kind of, out here making content? I think a lot of us, like in terms of society, have kind of been, what's the word? I don't know if you want to say socialized to accept this lifestyle of working for somebody else. I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast recently, and he was kind of talking about this subject. And he said basically like the 5-day work week was invented, back during the Industrial Revolution. And I think he said Henry Ford was a big part of inventing it, because it was going to be a 6 or 7 day, or I guess 6-day work week. Sunday's a day for church and a day for rest and family or whatever. But Henry Ford realized, like, if people are going to go out and be consumers and shop for things and spend money with these businesses, they're going to need a day off to do that. And then when you give people a day off, then they're going to need one outfit or one set of clothes for work and another one for their Saturday leisure day. So it kind of encourages people to shop and things like that. And I've been doing my own thing for 3 days here, if that. And it's really weird to have like my girlfriend go off to work in the morning, and I'm sitting here like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna make some videos and write some blogs and stuff. Like, it almost feels like I'm being lazy or not working. And so there's this kind of like mental block kind of thing you got to get past. So I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent, but let's just kind of hop in and see what Chase has to say here.
Hey guys, my name's Chase, and I fired about 5 months ago, myself and Mary, my partner, with a net worth of about $300,000. And I thought it'd be fun to give some periodic updates of how it's going and what I've learned and what the experience is like, because there aren't really that many bloggers who have done the FIRE thing. Most of them seem to just go the full way to the finish line for financial independence. And yeah, there have been some surprises already at the 5-month mark, and I thought I'd share them with you guys for those of you who might be considering it. I have kind of a list of the highlights, so I'll be referencing it. And I'm going to try to talk about the ideas in order from like the biggest, like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
I just wanted to stop this for a second. So one thing that I was talking about with Brian and I thought was really interesting is like, maybe some of you guys at your job are like busy from the moment you walk in till the end of the day, but I'm sure we've all had times, or maybe you even have a job where like, for a good portion of the day, you're kind of trying to look busy or stretching work to make it seem like it's taking you longer. And I watched another interesting Joe Rogan podcast fairly recently where they were talking about a book called Bullshit Jobs, and it was basically about how like, I forget what percentage they gave, but like something like 70% of jobs are like complete bullshit and have really no purpose. Like, are either meant to make somebody feel important, but like really serve no practical purpose. And me and Brian were kind of talking about how like this whole like 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, like what if you could do your job in 20 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week, even if you could complete your job in that amount of time and you're not really responsible to be there to field calls or something. Most employers wouldn't say, I'm going to pay you for a full 40-hour work week, even though you're working 20 hours, but they will pay you if you stay there for the full 40 hours and stare at your computer screen, pretending like you're working. Like, just the whole concept around work has just become so kind of stupid and senseless. And one thing he kind of goes into, Chase kind of goes into here in a moment, is he talks about, and I think I maybe referenced this already, but he's like, I always thought I hated working. I don't necessarily hate working. I just hate that work is essentially my entire life. And he kind of makes a good analogy here. And he says it's kind of like cheeseburger. If you had to eat a cheeseburger every day for lunch, you would probably start hating cheeseburgers. And that's not necessarily to say that you hate cheeseburgers. You'd probably enjoy a cheeseburger once every week or two. But when you have to eat it for lunch every day, you begin to hate it. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. One of the things I'm going to be doing right now, and I don't necessarily know what my future holds forever. Maybe I will go get another career for a while, or maybe I will launch another kind of like bigger business. But just like I could see myself hustling and creating content and doing YouTube and merch and some of this other stuff, and then maybe going and getting a part-time job. I've actually been looking at some jobs being a bud tender at like a weed dispensary. I just think it'd be kind of an interesting job. Something 15, 20, 30 hours. Yeah, 30 might be a little bit heavy. 15, 20 hours a week. Still have plenty of time to do my hustles, to work on, to go paddle boarding, to learn to play the ukulele and take up photography and whether there are the other kinds of like personal projects and personal development stuff I want to do, and make a little bit of extra money and maybe get lucky and find a job that offers insurance to low-hour employees as well. But I think something like that would be very enjoyable as opposed to like just feel kind of like drudged down doing a 40-hour thing. So let's see what Chase has to say about that.
To some of the smaller observations, so I'm trying to start with the stuff I think is the most important first. So number one, this was a huge surprise for me when I coast fired. Is oh, by the way, I taught high school for 9 years before I quit, and I always thought that I really disliked working. And my goal from the day I started working was to try to retire as soon as possible. It seemed like too much of a grind. And the thing that really surprised me was it's not work itself that I disliked. It was the 40 hours a week of it part. I actually, now that I'm working like about 10 or 15 hours a week, I don't mind working nearly as much. A day when I'm going to go in for like 4 or 5 hours doesn't bother me at all because I don't feel exhausted, and I feel like I'm making progress on my personal goals and I'm not having to set them aside to come in and work. So that was surprising, and I think other people might have the same experience where if you're in the 40-hour a week grind, you might think that you hate working and you want to escape it, but the fact might be that you just hate doing so much of it. It's kind of like if you had to eat a cheeseburger for lunch every single day, you might think that you hate cheeseburgers, and it's actually you just, you wouldn't mind a cheeseburger once every 2 weeks. It's the fact that you're eating them every day that's making it bad. So that was a surprise for me. Work is actually pretty cool now. And to add to that, so our plan is to coast fire, where we work part-time for about 15 or 20 years, something like that. And then hopefully we'll get enough money where we can just not have to work at all anymore. But something that shocked me only a few months into coast fire is I don't know if full FI is even a goal I super duper want anymore. I could see myself working 10 hours a week just doing weird odd jobs for the rest of my life, or at least until I'm like 70 or something.
Anyhow, that's all I'm going to play for you guys. If you guys want to check out the rest of this video, I'll link to it down in the description box below. It's about 17 minutes, but if this is something that kind of intrigues you at all or that you're curious about, I definitely recommend giving it a view. I'm also kind of curious to hear your guys' kind of take on this kind of lifestyle. What do you think of it? Do you think, I know a lot of people who are like really into the personal finance stuff will be like, two people can't retire on 300,000, it's not enough money. It's weird. I saw Susie Orman was in an article the other day basically saying that, like, if you don't have $5 million at retirement, you're fucked. And I mean, good luck. Most people, the vast majority of Americans aren't going to have $5 million at retirement. When you get into these like real serious personal finance like forums and things like that, like you're screwed if you don't have at least $3 million to retire. And I mean, none of us know what the future holds, how much inflation is going to be, if Social Security is going to be around. But I mean, I think I saw something the other day. They said the median savings, and obviously it might be different whether you're talking median or average, but the median savings amount that most retired couples or people have is something like $106,000. So if this guy I don't know how old he is, I'm guessing late 20s, early 30s, if this guy in his late 20s, early 30s has $300,000 that he can put into investments, and that money has another 30 years, 40 years to continue compounding, and he's able to cover his expenses so that he's not dipping into savings by working these odd jobs and delivering Subway and donating plasma. I would have no desire to donate plasma. I hate needles and stuff. But anyhow, if he's able to cover his normal expenses and isn't withdrawing from his retirements or his savings, I mean, shoot, more power to him. So I'm not saying that there's a right way to live your life or go about things or a wrong way. I just think it's kind of interesting, kind of exploring the different options and actually finding what's going to make you happy and what's kind of the right path for you. So I would love to hear your guys' take on this. Drop a comment in the comment section below. Maybe I'll try to get Brian Phobos on the channel. I thought he had some really kind of interesting insights on kind of life and work and career and some of that type of stuff. So maybe I'll try to get him on as well. But if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button below, and I will catch you guys on the next one.